सुवर्णलिङ्गाय नमः सुवर्णाय नमः सुवर्णलिङ्गाय नमः दिव्याय नमः दिव्यलिङ्गाय नमः भवाय नमः भवलिङ्गाय नमः शर्वाय नमः शर्वलिङ्गाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवलिङ्गाय नमः ज्वलाय नमः ज्वललिङ्गाय नमः आत्माय नमः आत्मलिङ्गाय नमः परमाय नमः परमलिङ्गाय नमः एतत् सोमस्य सूर्यस्य सर्वलिङ्गस्थापयति पाणिमन्त्रं पवित्रम् सद्यो जातं प्रपद्यामि सद्यो जाताय वै नमो नमः भवे भवेनाति भवे भवस्व मां भवोद्भवाय नमः वामदेवाय नमो ज्येष्ठाय नमः श्रेष्ठाय नमो रुद्राय नमः कालाय नमः कलविकडनाय नमो बलविकडनाय नमो बलाय नमो बलप्रमथनाय नमः सर्वभूतदमनाय नमो मनोन्मनाय नमः अघोरेभ्योऽथ घोरेभ्यो घोरघोरतरेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यो नमस्ते अस्तु रुद्ररूपेभ्यः तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्र प्रचोदयात् ईशानः सर्वविद्यानामीश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपतिर्ब्रह्मणोऽधिपतिर्ब्रह्म शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो नमो हिरण्यवाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः ऋतगुं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतं विरूपाक्षं विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः सर्वो वै रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु पुरुषो वै रुद्रः सन्महो नमो नमः विश्वं भूतं भुवनं चित्रं बहुधा जातं चायमानं च यत् सर्वो हेश रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु कद्रुद्राय प्रचेतसे मेरुष्टमाय तव्यसे वोचे मसन्तमगुम्हृदे सर्वो हेश रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our today's session. I'm Arya Mukherjee. First of all, let me thank you all for being present here. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the eminent speaker of this evening, who is going to discuss about Lal Ded, the mystic of Kashmir. The eminent speaker of this unique topic is Professor Meem Zaffar. Professor Zaffar is MA in Philosophy from AMU, MPhil, PhD in Philosophy from Rajasthan University, Jaipur. His areas of special interest are cultural and spiritual history of India with special reference to Kashmir, philosophy of religion, Indian philosophy with special reference to Kashmir Shaivism, contemporary continental philosophy, literary aesthetics. His language proficiencies are in Kashmiri, Hindi, Urdu, English, Persian, and Sanskrit. Now, let me share some information about his professional life. He was a lecturer in philosophy, Government Degree College, Gandhinagar, Jammu, from 1976 to 1980. He was head of the Department of Philosophy of Government College for Women, MA Road, Srinagar, from 1980 to 2000. He was a principal of Government Degree College, Kargil, Ladakh, from 2001 to 2002. Principal of Government Degree College, Kupwara from 2002 to 2004, Director of Institute of Kashmir Studies, University of Kashmir from 2006 to 2008. He was a visiting professor at the Center for Philosophy, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi from 2013 to 14, visiting researcher of the Department of Education, University of Macerata, Italy from 2014 to 16. He is presently working on a Kashmiri translation of Pratyavigna Hridayam, Kashmiri Shaivism by Acharya Kasemaraja. He has also published a book, Literature as an Art Form, and a collection of poems, Mrik Trishna. Now I request Professor Zaffar, so please start your deliberation.
Please unmute yourself.
Is it all right? Is the voice coming?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Indian culture is a colossal empire. It exhibits almost infinite number of mosaics. Whether you try to study it diachronically or synchronically, both ways, it has innumerous colors and innumerous shades. Kashmir is a segment of this culture, but it is woven in the culture of whole of India. The basic notes of our culture are same. If you have the capacity to listen to these notes, recognize these notes, you can have these notes in Bengal itself, in Assam, Gujarat, Kashmir, Ladakh, or Chennai or Kanyakumari. Everywhere, these notes are visible and discernible, provided you have an ear. You need not be a Tansen, but definitely you have to be a Kansen in order to mark these notes. So that is my sort of introduction. So Kashmir has been a part of cultural mosaic of the country for ages now. So actually, Buddhism progressed in Kashmir, and Kashmiris took it to different lands of the world. And then we have other philosophies here also. Jainism also was here, and Vaishnavism was also here, and Shaivism was also here. And Kashmiris have contributed tremendously to the literature of these different schools of thought or religious sects in their evolution and in their growth. So, Lal Ded is a phenomena that is very, I think, peculiar to Kashmir. She has been a sort of poet. I don't call her a poet. I will give you the reasons why I don't call her a poet. So I am going to talk about Lal Ded. That will give you a glimpse of this one mosaic of our country, Kashmir. Most Bengalis visit Kashmir, but I don't think many of them are interested to know the culture of Kashmir, the essence of Kashmir, how the Kashmiris have been evolving, and what kind of life they have been living, what have been their ideals, what have been their vision, how they have looked at humanity. So these things are not, you see, they purchase some shawls or some paper mache and then go back. And similarly, a lot of Kashmiris come to Bengal, especially selling shawls. They have only to sell their shawls, and they are not interested in Bengali culture to know what is happening in Bengal, how these people have evolved, how their literature has progressed, how their literature has changed. No, these changes, you see, unless and until ideas exchange, ideas will not grow. See, capital grows when it is in circulation. Similarly, ideas grow when ideas are in circulation. So I am going to talk about Lal Ded today, but you will find that I am not talking something very strange. These things would be known to you. So you see, be it Ikka Devi, be it Azan Fakir of Assam, be it Kabir. Now these are bowls of Bengal. So these themes are recurrent, and they have been talked about very creatively because these people talk from their experience, not because of they have read some book. So Lal Ded is a rebel saint, a revolutionary mystic of the 14th century Kashmir. We know her only through her verses called War that have come down to us through folk tradition of Kashmir. To my mind, to describe Lal Ded as a poet is a misnomer, notwithstanding the fact that her work are the, are the specimen of best poetry. In no way can she called be a poet in the modern sense of the term. Lalwak is not primarily poetry, nor is it mere learned discourse. It is a discourse for the practical purpose of sanctifying and divinizing human nature. For Lal Ded herself, her walk is the mantra and worship of the Lord, as she herself proclaims. I quote, this is a work of Lalla. Whatever work I did became worship of the Lord. Whatever word I uttered became mantra. What this body of mine experienced became the sadhana of Shaiva Tantra, illuminating my path to Param Shiva. Lalwak forms the foundation not only of contemporary Kashmiri literature, but also of Kashmiri culture as a whole. In the ancient and in the medieval period of Kashmir, in the ancient and the medieval period, Kashmir produced great thinkers and spiritual practitioners, but all their works are in Sanskrit. After the advent of Islam in Kashmir around 11th century AD, Kashmiris gradually lost their hold on the language, Sanskrit, due to various political, social, religious, and linguistic reasons. And whatever intellectual heritage their predecessors had bequeathed became inaccessible to them. With the passage of time, a deficit emerged between pre-Islamic Kashmir and Islamic Kashmir. Lal Ded is the most significant historical bridge that connects these two shores of this gap, two shores of this gulf. So, very effectively, she connects the most significant historical bridge that connects the two shores of this gulf very effectively. She was the product of the spiritual creed that had been evolving in Kashmir for centuries, and her immediate predecessors were saints and scholars like Vasogupta, Rishi Acharya, Vasogupta Rishi, Acharya Somanand, Acharya Kalat, Acharya Pradhuman, Acharya Utpaldev, and Acharya Abhinavgupta. Her immediate successor and a great saint and scholar in his own right, Nund Rishi, the founder of Muslim Rishi order in Kashmir, has this to say about Lal Ded. I quote, "It was Lala of Padmanpur who drank in long draughts nectar divine. She was the divine manifestation for us. May thou, Lord, bestow a similar boon upon me." Lalwak was not written down during her lifetime. It was because of her power to impact her listeners that people heard her and formed her sayings into chants and mantras, which continue to be sung even today. She revolted against all the oppressive structures that stifle and kill the human spirit, and critically interrogated practices of inequality and injustice that were current during the times. Lalwak is not only a continuation of the tradition, it is also simultaneously a break or rebellion against the tradition. Her rebellion was unprecedented. She challenged the validity of all the socio-political and religious structures and was deadly against maintaining the status quo. Thus, she was perceived as a threat to the established social order. To neutralize the impact of this rebellion, the elite of the times, the custodians of the tradition, declared her to be mad and insane. It is because of these circumstances that we don't find her mention in any of the historical accounts written in Sanskrit during and after her times. It is only during 17th century a Muslim chronicler takes her name, and she says there was a spiritual person and she sang this. So it was later research that established that there was this person. Now she belonged to 13th century. Now it was after so many centuries, in 7th century, 4 centuries after, her name was mentioned in some book. So this is the tradition that has, you see, in Kashmir, we have this problem that people worship mad people. It is because of that thing, because she was a great saint and she was dictated to be a mad person. So now Kashmiri think that every mad person is somewhere near Lal Ded. So Lal Ded rebelled against the educated elite of Sanskrit Academy, who were the custodians of knowledge and tradition. She articulated a spiritual path and message she had inherited in Kashmiri language, which was the language of the man in the street. By doing so, she made it available to all the people, irrespective of caste, creed, color, sex, religion, or region. It was no more a preserve of Sanskrit Academy. This act on the part of Lal Ded to make Kashmiri language the vehicle for spreading her message of universal brotherhood through her outpourings was probably a part of the divine mission which she had to fulfill, and in recognition of which great saint Nundrishi calls her, quote, the divine manifestation for us, unquote. This act remains the greatest revolutionary act in the cultural history of Kashmir and makes her the indisputable founder not only of the contemporary Kashmiri literature but also of the contemporary Kashmiri culture. Discrediting the large sections of Tantric lore, Lal Ded rejects wholly the ritualistic aspect of the Shaivistic ritual, spiritual discipline. This rejection is articulated and expressed with great force in her work. She denigrates the ceremonial piety, and to her, most of these rituals are devoid of any spiritual merit, and only an uncultivated person will engage in such barren and fruitless activities. She herself had no possessions, not even a shelter, but in her homeless wisdom, she articulated in a language that provides no lulling abodes of thought. She tried to dismantle the deeply ingrained hereditary patterns of thought and action. She had her own revolutionary views regarding the rituals like idol worship, animal sacrifice, fasting, visiting sacred places, and reading sacred books. In the light of her own intense spiritual experience, she re-evaluates these rituals and comments. I quote, now these are some works of Lal Ded where she rejects these different rituals. The idol is by stone, the idol is but stone, the temple is by stone, the temple is but stone, from top to bottom, all is but stone. Whom will you worship, O stubborn Pandit? Fuse your breath with your mind. Fuse your breath and mind. It covers your shame. It covers your shame, saves you from cold. It is food and drink, mere water and grass. Who counseled you, O Brahman, to slaughter a living sheep as a sacrifice unto a lifeless stone? Next one, O fool, right action does not lie in fasting and other ceremonial rites. O fool, right action does not lie in providing for bodily comfort and ease. In contemplation of the self alone is right action and right counsel for you. The pilgrim sannyasin, this is another one. The pilgrim sannyasin goes from shrine to shrine, seeking to meet him who abides within herself, Knowing the truth, O soul, be not misled. It is distance that makes the turf look green. Some leave their home, another one, some leave their home, some the hermitage, but the restless mind knows no rest. Then watch your breath day and night and stay where you are. Next one, she is rejecting different rituals, so I'm reading about that. This is another one. I have worn out my plate and tongue reading the holy books, but I have not learned the practices that would please my Lord. I have worn the thin fingers and thumb telling my rosary beads, but I have not been able to dispel duality from my mind. Next one. The thoughtless read the holy books as parrots in their cages recite Ram Ram. Their reading is like churning water, fruitless effort, ridiculous conceit. By opposing vehemently the ritualistic aspect of Trikamat, Laldad revolted against the powerful clergy of the times, who had transformed these rituals into a means of exploitation and a tool for perpetuating their hereditary hegemony. She also revolted against the objectification of women in Shiva rituals. She totally rejects the secondary dependent status allotted to women in these rituals and emerges and dominates the scene as a subject. As early as 11th century, a well-known Sanskrit poet of Kashmir, Khemendar, wrote biting satires on the aspects of Kashmiri culture that he considered corrupt and vulgar. In his garland of satire, Narmamala, he writes about a tantric ritual which is officiated by Truguntik, a Bharvachari. Now I quote from, this is from Khemendar. The Shav master, Shavacharya, Truguntik, disfigured like the root of an elephant's ear, his eyes wrathful, throat swollen with goiter, and nose severed. He performs the great vow, Mahavrat, of antinomian behavior, and his face is withered and distorted in appearance like the female sexual organ. Naked he attends to the vow of observing the auspicious times to perform the ritual intercourse, Velavrit. Both silent and a composer of hymns, his knees are round and swollen like bells, exulting surrounded by dogs and mad women. His body smeared with fierceness, he knows the mantras, practices alchemy, magic, and ritual intercourse. Full of wisdom, he knows the nature of lust. This is Khemendar. And there's another extract from Khemendar. Here, come to his preceptor's house. It is the learned Brahmin, but initiated into Kaul practices. In his hand a fish and a jar of liquor. His mind made up to drink, freed by Kaul doctrine of the sense of shame he should have felt by virtue of his caste. Passing thus the night, he leaves drunk, vomiting his wine, his face licked by a dog. The Brahmin in the morning is purified by his prostration in the midst of other learned men. Unquote. On the one hand, Lalla gave a new lease of life to Kashmir Shaivistic tradition. But on the other, she demystified Shaivism by articulating its tenets in the language of the common people and deconstructed its ideology of being a Rahasya Sampradaya, a secret sect, by making all the upayas, means of realization, available to all those interested in the realization of their true identity, thus making it a viable and effective tool, not only for individual emancipation, but also for social unification. There is an inbuilt dynamics, reciprocal relationship between the two, and each reinforces the other. This is the reason of total acceptance of Lal Ded by almost all Kashmiris. With the passage of time, there was a schism in the Shaivistic Trikamat. On the one hand, we have the branch that maintains the rituals, although not much of the rituals detailed by Abhinav Gupta have survived the ravages of time. On the other hand, we have the ritual-free Trikmat of Lal Ded, which is a syncretic tradition that assimilates not only the essence of Buddhist spirituality, but also reaches out to the Sufi mystic tradition of Islam. In Buddhist tradition, being a bodhisattva implies being full of compassion, conjoined with insight into reality, realizing emptiness, shunya, or the essence of all things. In this light, we may consider the verse by Lala. I quote from Lala: "Realization is rare indeed. Seek not for, it is near by you. First slay desire, then settle the mind, giving up vain imaginings. Then meditate on self within, and lo, the void merges in the void." The void merges in the void. This is a Buddhistic motive. And again, this is another vak that is in Buddhistic line. Let go the sacred tantra rites. Only the mantra sound remains. And when the mantra sound departs, only the chit or consciousness, only the chit or consciousness is left behind. Then lo, the chit itself is gone, and there is nothing left. The void merges in the void. शून्य शून्य के साथ मिल जाता है. In the true Buddhistic spirit, Lal Ded advocates the middle path as the path of liberation, and we may consider the following vak in this regard. I quote: "By pandering to your appetites and desires, by pandering to your appetites and desires, you get nowhere. By penance and fasting, you get conceit. Be moderate in food and drink, you will be moderate. Your path will surely be illuminated." Here are some of her verses that give us some idea of the path Lal Ded traversed. Lal Ded had this path. These walks give us an idea what was Lal Ded practicing, what was her philosophy, positive philosophy. In life, I sought, I quote from Lal Ded, "In life, I sought neither wealth nor power, nor ran after pleasures of sense. Moderate in food and drink, I lived a controlled life, patiently bore my lot, my pain and poverty, and loved my God." Next one. "O fool, right action does not lie in observing fasts and ceremonial rites. O fool, right action does not lie in providing for bodily comfort and ease. In contemplation of the self alone is right action and right counsel for you." You have to reflect upon yourself. That is the only path. Now this is another one. "My Guru gave me but one precept. Only one advice my Guru gave me. From without, withdraw your gaze within and fix it on the innermost self. Taking to heart this one precept, naked I began to dance." These vakas give us an idea of the spiritual discipline that Lal practiced and prescribed for us. Now let us see the fruit of the spiritual labor. I quote, this is from Lal Ded: "Thou wert absorbed in thine own self. Thou wert absorbed in thine own self, hidden from me. I passed whole days in seeking thee out. But when I saw thee in mine own self, oh joy, then thou and I disported ourselves in ecstasy." And again, this one from Lalville. I traversed the vastness of the void alone, leaving behind me reason and sense. Then came upon the secret of the self, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, in mud, the lotus bloomed for me. Let me repeat it. I traversed the vastness of the void alone. शून्य को मैं खुद देखा, सारा शून्य से गुजरी मैं. Leaving behind me reason and sense. तर्क और sense को आप पीछे छोड़ा. Then came upon the secret of the self, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, in mud, the lotus bloomed for me. Like this one, this is last one. Like a tenuous web, Shiva spreads himself. Like a tenuous web, Shiva spreads himself, penetrating all frames of all things. If while alive you cannot see him, if while alive you cannot see him, how can you see him after death? Think deep and sift the true self from the self. The last two works are a bold statement that absolute reality can and is to be realized in this very life. Notice the interrogative emphasis in the two lines. If while alive you cannot see him, how can you see him after death? And relate it to the last line of the earlier work, which reads, in mud the lotus bloomed for me. Through spiritual effort, one has to realize the blooming of the flower upon the dirty ground covered with litter and dirt, mud and dirt. That is something valueless, representing human body. One has to begin with brute matter, the lower prakriti, the manifested universe, in order to realize the higher self within the flower, and thence to immerse in the lake of immortality, like Karmas Amrit Saras. That is absorption in the divine. To quote her oft-repeated phrase, void merging in the void. Shunya Shunya Milit Gav. To recognize oneself is to recognize that one is essentially the vibrating light of consciousness. To recognize oneself is to recognize that one is essentially the vibrating life of consciousness. This light is eternally repeating and regenerating itself through the eternal processes of manifestation and reabsorption. And Lal proclaims, I quote, the Chit consciousness, the Chit is ever new. The ever-changing moon is new. The ever-changing moon is new. And ever new, the shoreless expanse of waters that I have seen. Since I, Lal, have succored my body and mind, emptied it of dead yesterdays and tomorrows unborn, I live in the present, ever present now. I live in the ever present now, and all things always are to me forever new and new. This vibration is not physical. It is not vibration in the sense of movement. It is the creative power of consciousness, which is beyond all human communication. Lal says, here is neither word nor thought. Here is neither word nor thought, transcendence nor non-transcendence here. The vows of silence and mystic mudras cannot give you admittance here. Even Shiva and Shakti does not remain here. Whatever remains is the lesson for you. Now you can think, Buddhists say that ultimate reality is beyond Chatushkoti. Beyond Chatushkoti, that means you cannot express it in language. Chatushkoti is not, neither is not, either is not. You cannot talk about reality in these four categories. This reality is beyond these four categories. Illusions are the part and parcel of this worldly life. That is why we call this world Maya Jal. The more one is spiritually evolved, the less illusions will he or she entertain. The ultimate illusion is that of individual existence, aham, or I am. This is the branch upon which one is standing, and even the most evolved persons are not inclined to cut this branch, apprehending that in case of a fall, he or she will hit the ground. But Lal, the saint of Kashmir, the avatar of Kashmir, has all the spiritual power to cut even this branch upon which she is standing, as she has realized that there is no ground to hit. No doubt, Laldat belongs to the spiritual tradition of Kashmir, which is in turn colored or segmented of this multifaceted, which in turn is informed by Buddhism, Shaivism, and Islam, but she cannot be identified with any particular color or segment of this multifaceted tradition. She transcends all particularities, and her message is absolutely universal. No doubt, its form, that is, linguistic expression, is particular, as it is in Kashmiri language, but its kernel, that is, its essence, transcends all particularities. It is the identification and realization of a spiritual path shorn of all rituals for one's self-recognition that implies the recognition of the Lord. I would like to conclude this paper with a quotation from Professor Manzoor Fazli's paper entitled Message and Significance of Lala's Philosophy. The quotation reads, and I quote, this is the quotation. In the end, it may be recalled that Lala is the leader of the dynamic philosophy that she preached. She, along with Sheikh Nuruddin Wali Nundrishi, whom I have named Nundrishi, were bound to open an era of human brotherhood in Kashmir and beyond, in which the differences of caste, creed, birth, race, and position would be meaningless. Unfortunately, humanism lost its ground in Kashmir, and there is a total drift in the philosophy in the valley today. The culture of the valley during last many centuries has stagnated and disrupted. Humanism taught by Lala as well as Nundrishi is neither followed nor even understood. Our history is fragmented, then misinterpreted and misapplied to suit the interests of the historian or the ideologies of the rulers, or one Muslim sect against the other. The basic truths that we had imbibed through our culture and religion echoes have been shattered and disregarded. We are incapable of rediscovering and reclaiming from the mass superstitions, myths, and miracles that are woven for us by unseen and seen hands. Humanism, however, internationally today stands on a firm foundation of reason, and it no longer needs the support of religion or an unseen power. Man is master of the universe, and he has the power to make himself complete, provided that the basic truths enunciated by Lal are put in perspective. As the first step, there is the need to regenerate intellectual and spiritual ideals of Lala and to achieve the freedom that she aspired for. Thanks.